The Haunting of Hawthorne High. In the heart of Ravenswood, a small town surrounded by dense forests, there loomed an imposing structure known as Hawthorne High. This abandoned three-story school had been shrouded in an aura of mystery for decades. Its halls echoed with ghostly whispers, and eerie footsteps could be heard in the dead of night. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the malevolent spirits that were said to haunt its decaying corridors. However, one man, Daniel, defied the town's collective fear. Daniel was an anomaly in Ravenswood. He was a man of science and reason, with a skeptical disposition towards the supernatural. He scoffed at the notion of ghosts and otherworldly phenomena, believing them to be mere figments of the imagination. So when the townsfolk whispered about the haunted Hawthorne High, Daniel decided to put his skepticism to the test. One moonless night, he found himself standing before the school's rusted gates, armed with a powerful flashlight and a notebook to record his findings. The air was heavy with an eerie silence as he cautiously entered the abandoned building. The wooden floors creaked beneath his weight, and shadows seemed to dance malevolently in the corners of his vision. As Daniel ventured deeper into the forsaken school, he couldn't ignore the sudden drop in temperature. His breath materialized in the frigid air, forming ghostly clouds that hung before him. Undeterred, he pressed on, the labyrinthine hallways stretching endlessly before him. The feeling of being watched gnawed at him, but he dismissed it as his overactive imagination. Finally, Daniel arrived at the heart of Hawthorne High, its dusty, forgotten library. The shelves were lined with ancient books, their pages yellowed with age. Among them, one particular tome stood out. Its cover was adorned with cryptic symbols and bizarre illustrations. Curiosity got the better of him, and he pulled the book from the shelf. As he opened the book, a rush of cold air filled the room, and the lights overhead flickered ominously. The book revealed the dark history of Hawthorne High, a tale of a malevolent spirit named Samuel, a former student who had met a tragic end within these very walls. Samuel had been an outcast, tormented by his classmates and misunderstood by his teachers. His despair had grown until he had taken his own life, vowing to haunt the school for all eternity. Daniel scoffed at the story, dismissing it as mere folklore. But as he turned to leave, a mournful whisper brushed against his ear. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice sent shivers down his spine, yet he refused to yield to fear, attributing it to his vivid imagination. Hours passed, and Daniel continued his exploration. In a dimly lit classroom, he encountered an old chalkboard covered in strange and indecipherable drawings. As he approached, the chalk on the board began to move on its own, forming words, "Leave or join us." Daniel's heart raced as he tried to make sense of this eerie message. In an instant, the classroom doors slammed shut with a deafening thud, and the windows rattled violently. Ghostly figures materialized before him, their faces twisted in anguish. Samuel, the vengeful spirit, led them. They floated towards Daniel, their cold, ethereal hands reaching out as if to pull him into the abyss. Terrified and in a panic, Daniel fled through the haunted school's twisting corridors, desperately seeking an escape. But the malevolent spirits pursued him relentlessly, their voices echoing through the halls, whispering tales of suffering and despair. The logical explanations he had sought earlier seemed irrelevant in the face of these unearthly horrors. As the first rays of dawn broke, the spirits finally relented, and Daniel stumbled out of Hawthorne High, shaken and forever changed. He had ventured into the supernatural world he had once dismissed, and it had nearly cost him his life. From that day on, he became a believer, haunted by the memories of a school where the line between the living and the dead blurred, and the horrors of the past refused to stay buried. The tale of Daniel's harrowing night at Hawthorne High served as a chilling reminder to the town of Ravenswood that there were mysteries in the world that defied explanation, and some places were best left untouched by the living.